Hello, everyone. My name is Zoe Trudeau, and I have communicated with a few of you through discussion posts in our class, but today I am here to share with you my conflict communication media analysis. So jumping right in, let me screen share so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That'd be super helpful. All right. So in this presentation, I will be analyzing power and dialogic listening as they pair in two scenes from Jurassic Park. This film did a fantastic job illustrating these concepts and making the outcomes of the conflicts and conversations we hear realistic. Now, when coming up with a summary for this movie, I did not like how I explained this plot. And so I went on IMDb and found a description that I liked, and this one happened to be from film_fan. And they described it as huge advancements in scientific technology have enabled a mogul to create an island full of living dinosaurs. John Hammond has invited 4 individuals along with his 2 grandchildren to join him at Jurassic Park. But will everything go according to plan? A park employee attempts to steal dinosaur embryos, critical security systems are shut down, and it now becomes a race for survival with dinosaurs roaming freely over the island. Now, according to Jant, power is the ability to influence or control the behavior of others. Conflict can occur from the use of one's power, and resistance often shows as conflict. The exercise of power appears to be endemic to humans as social beings, Jant 2017. Now, some sources of power, according to Jant in our textbook on page, I believe, 26. Yep, page 26. Is resources, force, skills, knowledge, position, charisma, and persuasion skills. Now, according to Jant, some types of power are legitimate or positional power, and this is the power one holds based on the position they are in. This often looks like a manager position, someone of that aspect. We have referent power, which builds loyalty and gains a following based on social skills and charisma. This can be an activist leader. We have expert power when an individual has power based off their skills or experience. This could be a plumber who's been in the industry for a while, a doctor, things like that. We have reward power, which is the ability one has to give rewards, material rewards, benefits, promotions, things like that. Reward power and positional power can often go hand in hand, as someone in a certain position can give these rewards out. We have coercive power, which is one that can deny privileges, withhold rewards, and deliver consequences. Now, why is it important to understand power in the context of conflict? Take a work example. You are in trouble with your boss because you did something you weren't supposed to. Now, it is important to understand the power distribution there as to how to go about and appropriately dissect and hopefully resolve the issue. Now, the first scene we are going to watch here, let me pull that up for us. Alrighty here. Just making sure I have the right screen up for you guys. Okay.
What the hell do you think you're doing in here? We were standing there.
All right. Just going to double check just to make sure I am sharing the appropriate screen before I move back over. Okay. Now, breaking this down here a little bit, we have John Hammond, who is introduced as the man in white. He is wealthy. He's the owner of Jurassic Park, the founder of InGen, and he, as we found out, funds Alan Grant and Ailey Sattler's dig site. With Alan Grant, he is a world-renowned paleontologist and runs the dig site in Montana and is dating Ellie Sattler. Lastly, we have Ellie Sattler. She is a paleobotanist and she co-runs the dig site and is dating Alan Grant. Now, some pre-context to this scene. John Hammond is under investigation following a tragic death in his developing theme park, resulting in a $20 million lawsuit. He needs 2 experts to sign off on the safety of his park. If this happens, the insurance companies will step away. They had one, but the officials thought he was too trendy and wanted Alan Grant for the job. During this moment, it is mentioned between a worker and Hammond's investor's lawyer that he will not leave Montana as he is a digger and isn't into developmental technology. Now, currently, Hammond makes an unannounced appearance at the dig site, and as we can see just from the little bit of the clip that I allowed to play before I got just to the part where we needed to be, it causes a little bit of chaos. The dust from the helicopter flies everywhere, covering up their excavating, and it causes an issue. Almost immediately, the power he holds over the individuals is shown. He arrives unplanned, expecting nothing but hospitality. He enters and goes through someone's property without permission. And when Grant approaches him, infuriated with how things are going, he clearly states who he is in order to inflict a different response. He also uses his wealth to have Grant and Sattler observe his theme park when they were showing him signs of refusal and denying it, as they already had pre-engagements and other things they needed to do. It was also incredibly short notice and very inconvenient for them. Now, the outcome of this scene's conflict is shown throughout the rest of the film. They stress their concerns early about the safety of the park to Hammond, and by the end of the film, they have an odd relationship. Their ties are strained, and there is a bond added through the trust of Grant and Sattler protecting Hammond's grandchildren. Now, Hammond's behavior was unprofessional and inappropriate. Even though it was unethical, his approach was effective. He knew exactly what he needed to do in order to get them out there and use that to his advantage. Improvements that he could probably use are brought in the form of seeing individuals for themselves, opposed to chess pieces and other things he could use in order to get his victory. Now, Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler are on the same slide just because they responded to the situation pretty similarly. So they both started off the dispute inappropriately, and their anger was unprofessional. They were ineffective with refusing Hammond's offer, and they stayed in touch with ethics and found in the workplace and did not proceed with anything immoral. An improvement that they can make is being level-headed entering an unknown situation and committing to prior engagements. Especially in this workplace environment, you should never resort to anger or violence, as Grant showed getting in Hammond's face. And committing to prior engagements, finding your footing and knowing when to, this is a great offer, but we still have work to do. Now we have dialogic listening. According to Jant, it's advanced as an alternative to active listening, and this form of hearing is accompanied by mutuality, honesty, good intentions, improv, etc., and viewed as responsibility of one human for another. This is also contrasted with sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is often more passive and observant, while empathy is acknowledging the other's state of being and actively seeking a response more appropriate to the situation. Some characteristics of dialogic listening, according to Jant, would be authenticity, which is active listening requires taking into account the other's feelings or views, whereas in dialogic listening, this could be considered lack of authenticity. Inclusion is where the listener tries to place him or herself in other shoes. Confirmation is accepting that the speaker as a person of value because they are human. Presentness requires focusing one's mental attention on the speaker, not just being there physically. The spirit of mutual equality is the recognition and respect of everybody's right to communicate without prejudgment, according to Jant. And lastly, we have supportive climate. The all-around effort the listener takes to attend to the above elements. Now, why is it important to understand dialogic listening? We subconsciously do this in everyday life. When you sit down with a friend that you haven't seen in a little bit and they are telling you a story, you are listening to them and engaging in that conversation in an appropriate way given that situation. You are going through the elements of dialogic listening. Now for this second clip here. It is a little quiet. Once we get past this, it's going to be loud ad. It is a little bit on the quieter side. Oh, surprise, another ad. There we go. All right. So hopping back over here. Now again, we see the appearance of John Hammond. You can tell he's a little bit in denial of the situation and still holding on to his dream of this theme park. Whereas Sattler is in disbelief and processing what is happening around her. She is accepting their current reality and trying to break through to Hammond so he can fully understand the situation. Now, some pre-context. Before this scene transpires, things go horribly wrong during the tour. One of the unhappy workers with an ulterior motive disables some of the security features in the park, leading to the movie's downward spiral into chaos. The group out on tour, consisting of Grant, Malcolm, the other expert, Hammond's grandkids, and the lawyer, are stopped in front of the T-Rex paddock in the tropical storm. The system disables the electric fence and the T-Rex gets out. Grant and the children escape traumatized and lost on the island. The lawyer is devoured and Malcolm is incapacitated. Now, the way that the elements of dialogic listening were shown in the scene, we have authenticity first. Sattler shows this when engaging in the conversation after Hammond tells her about the flea circus. Instead of focusing on his feelings about his park, she's honest with him in order to get her point across about the situation. I put inclusion and confirmation together because Hammond kind of experienced this at the same time. Hammond undergoes this when Sattler is talking to him about his illusion of control. There is a difference in the way he treats her from the first scene that I showed to this scene. He realizes that they are both in the same situation and need to focus on what Sattler says. What matters now are the people we love. Now, next we have presentness. Hammond and Sattler collectively show this throughout the entire scene. They understand the importance of their situation, and what they both have to say is important for their full attention. Next, we have spirit of mutual equality. Sattler exemplifies this element during the conversation with Hammond. She patiently waits during his flea circus spiel, paying close attention to what he's saying until she can find the root of the message. When she figures that out, she responds accordingly. Hammond shows this while digesting the things Sattler is saying to him about control and her first feeling about the park. Lastly, we have supportive climate. Hammond and Sattler both showed attentive and careful dialogic listening skills as seen earlier before the group tour started. Had a similar layout, but the results were not the same and they did not end well. All right, after this scene, we can see almost instantaneous improvement on their strained relationship from the first scene and forwardness in communication between the two. This time, the concerns about the continuous safety of the park got through with a better form of communication between the two individuals. Now, this was a solemn situation, and Hammond was appropriate with his responses as well as taking care to listen to Sattler. Hammond's approach to the situation was effective, and he heard what Sattler was communicating to him. An improvement he can make is trying to understand what people are saying the first time instead of twisting their words to suit his needs. He does this when Sattler tells him that this is not something he can think through, but feel through. He takes this as this is information of how he can improve his park. He twists it to where it suits his needs. Now, Sattler's responses and actions towards Hammond were appropriate. She took the steps necessary to make Hammond see the issues at hand. Her approach was effective and completely ethical. She didn't include any low blows in her argument. An improvement Sattler can make is she cuts Hammond off during the second half of their conversation. This will not always work well in situations and can often escalate the issue and cause more harm than good. As before mentioned, this film did a fantastic job illustrating these concepts and making the outcomes of the conflicts and conversations we hear realistic. Conducting this analysis showed me that we were using these concepts in everyday life consciously, in our work environments, conversations with friends and family, and interactions at the grocery counter. We each have a power in those situations and often offer dialogic listening skills during these conversations. And then here are my references. And that is all there. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that for you guys. Thank you so much, and I look forward to continue interacting with you guys throughout the duration of the class. Thanks.